Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a watch that was new for 2018 and represents the latest offering from FP Journe in the Linesport collection. This is the Centigraphe Sport titanium bright yellow lacquered dial. 44 millimeters in titanium. The watch is feather light. Its movement is made of aluminum. The bracelet and clasp are titanium to match, and though it's 44 millimeters, eyes closed, it could be sub 40. Now turn the watch on its side, and despite its size, it's a thin timepiece, 10.8 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug, 51.8 millimeters across the wrist, though it wears smaller than that. The perceived size of this watch is probably about 5 millimeters smaller than it really is. You can see it sits effortlessly on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. Eyes closed, I would suspect it's a much smaller timepiece. That's because it's light. It's because the lugs themselves are arced around the wrist, so it almost hugs your wrist, quite secure, and the bracelet feels feathery and comfortable. It is a very pleasant watch to wear, and as you can see, it'll even clear a cuff. If you've got the panache to wear a bright yellow dial as a dress watch, it will easily clear a formal tight sleeve. Now, taking a quick look at the bracelet, you can see some FP Journe watches feature rubber bumpers. We're talking about Linesport sports watches. Some do not. I actually prefer the rubber bumpers. First, they protect the watch from being disfigured by contact, which is quite common in the luxury watch world. Second, they're a nice tonal contrast with the metal of the case and the bracelet. You can see there's a slash cut pattern, a bit like a Breitling Professional, and on the underside, Journe understands that with a sports watch you need big gaps in the links to vent the wrist, and so this accomplishes that purpose. As you can see, removable links are fixed by screws, so with your jeweler's screwdriver you can easily size this one at home. Rubber underneath the clasp, double deployant. Note the spring-loaded pin snaps, so this one snaps shut and sounds like the premium instrument it is. Rolling around to the case flank, it's simple but strong. This is not the conventional FP Journe case form. This one is more of an integrated profile, not necessarily inspired by Gente, but certainly sporty. You can see the integration of the taper of the bracelet with the taper of the lugs, which flow seamlessly into the case and the bezel. There's a little bit of a circumferential bevel that gives the watch a bit more angular articulation and hardens the appearance. And then we have rubber on the crown, which, by the way, you wind in the first withdrawn position, not the flush position. And then there is rubber on the rocker system for the chronograph. Now that rocker allows the watch to have a clean mono pusher look, but note you have the ability to stop and restart, which you do not have with a standard mono pusher. That's one of two patented features on this watch. New for this generation was the ceramic bezel insert for durability, and as you can see, the dial is bright yellow lacquer. It lives up to its name. My favorite feature here isn't obvious at first glance, but you can see that there's a lovely black lacquered border around the numerals themselves, and they are loomed, but they're not printed. If you look carefully, you can see they are three-dimensional applique blocks of luminova that loom over the dial at night and give it a three-dimensional loom shot, which you will see at the end of this video. Now, there's a lovely frosted inner bezel for the individual scales, and you can see the dial side bolts, now expected on an FP Journe watch, are black polished. The hands at center, as you can see, are polished, and they're that tapered biomorphic FP Journe form carried over from the dress watches. What I like about this watch that you won't find on a standard Centigraphe is that the registers themselves do not include the tachometers. It was always a little bit of a whimsical feature, imagining you could gauge the speed of an object traveling 36,000 kilometers per hour. By removing them, FP Journe's able to open up the registers and include a smoked sapphire that gives you a window into the mechanism underneath. I prefer this. You can even see the 1/100th of a second, 360,000 vibration per hour second escapement that operates underneath the foudroyant. Now, of course, the watch can resolve to 1/100th of a second. That is why it is the Centigraphe. And the dress version of this watch won the GPHG Aiguille d'Or back in 2007. So it is an Aiguille d'Or Grand Prize laureate and truly one of the important chronograph innovations of the last 20 years. Now you have a 1 second foudroyant, you have a 20-second register, and you have a 10-minute register, and that is it. The watch measures relatively small intervals of time. Flip it over on its backside, and you get that same caliber 1506 from the original Centigraphe, but you can see because this is the Linesport, it's rendered entirely in nickel anthracite coated aluminum. So a very light set of bridges and plates, consistent with the theme of the watch. It beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. Manual wind. If you Leave the chronograph off, you get an 80-hour power reserve. Run the chronograph, that's reduced to 24, but again, with a 10-minute register being the largest, you need not run the watch full time. You can, you just need to remember to wind it every day. Now, it's free-sprung for toughness, and the balance wheel itself is quite large to reduce shock-induced timing deviation. All of this pivots on 50 joules, and the second patent in this watch relates to the barrel, which you can see is mounted right at the center of the movement, symbolic and practical. The arbor, or the axle, of the barrel operates the chronograph, and the toothed edge of the barrel runs the time-telling functions. By running the two functions, time and chronograph, off of separate components of the barrel, FP Journe is able to activate the chronograph without losing balance amplitude, meaning this is one of the few chronograph watches that can pull off that feat. 30 meters water resistant, but surface swimmable. This is a full-service sports watch. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing. The Centigraphe Sport by night.